In this video, we're going to learn about the most interesting way to paint metallics on your miniatures. And if you stay to the end, I have a special surprise for you that I think you're going to really appreciate. I don't have an intro, so we're just going to get started. A lot of times when people paint metals on their miniatures, they just paint some silver and some gold on their model and then just throw a bunch of Nuln Oil and Agrax or shade all over it. There's nothing wrong with doing that if you like it, but I found that it leaves something to be desired. Today, we're going to cover a super simple trick that doesn't require any fancy techniques, and it doesn't add an hour of painting to each model in your army. The first step of mini painting is always going to be priming our minis. Since this model is covered in metal armor, we're going to use a glossy black primer. I use this $5 can of Rust-Oleum that you can get at either Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot, whatever's closest to you. Once that's done, it's time to pick our metallic color. It doesn't really matter what you go with here. The trick we're about to learn will work with any color that you choose. For this model, we're going to go with a nice deep bronze, because these models are in old diving suits, and I want to do a murky, dark color scheme, but you should go with whatever suits your needs. After you've base coated your metallics, you're going to want to go ahead and base coat all the other surfaces on your model. Now, this is usually a sticking point for most metallic models. You see, most models aren't fully metallic. There's either a piece of leather or skin or some other bit that usually butts right up against the metallic detail and makes it difficult to paint the model correctly. The trick to painting these models fast is to not worry about getting that other color on your metallic paint. So if you get a little paint on them in the space where the metallic bit touches the other surfaces, it'll just look like a small reflection. Now, don't go crazy. Do still have to be somewhat precise, but you don't need to take a ton of time making sure that every single piece is painted perfectly. I highly recommend, if you're using an airbrush, to paint your metals first and then do your other colors, because it's much easier to take a metallic paint and cover up an acrylic mistake versus the other way around, because you're never going to get every single little fleck of metallic paint that managed to shoot off into one of your shadows. And then you go to take a picture of your model, and inevitably there's going to be a little bright speck, right where you don't want there to be, and then it's going to show up in your photo and you're just not going to know what to do. And you're definitely not going to want to go back and repaint the model again, because you're done and I want to move on. I don't want to keep painting this stupid thing. Time for something new. So now we're in a great spot, and this is where the magic starts with a technique I'm calling complementary metallics. Totally trademarked. New YouTuber, you can't steal that. No one takes it. Totally mine. I'm kidding, I'm sure it'll be everywhere. Hopefully it'll be everywhere. That would actually be really cool if people took that. I don't know. If you like it, use it. What you're gonna wanna do is pick a color that fits with the theme of your model, and then either spray or wash that color on the bottom side of your metallics, leaving all the upward facing parts of the model as clean as you can. For this model, we're gonna go with a deep sea green, because we have an old school diver that feels like he belongs at the bottom of the ocean. If you have a model that's either in the sand or the dirt, just go with like a dark yellow or brown. If it's near lava, go with a dark red. Just keep in mind that the brighter the color you choose for this technique, the softer you need to be with its application. Otherwise, it's just going to look like you sprayed a weird color on the underside of your model, and it's not going to look right. I ended up having to do multiple thin coats on these models because I didn't want my green to overpower the bronze. Try to avoid the non-metallic parts if possible, but don't sweat it too much. Some of your paint where you don't want it, because it's just going to make that surface feel as if it's in the same environment as the rest of our metallic parts. Now here's the kicker that really brings these metallics to life. Go to a color wheel and pick the opposite color from the shadow that you used. From here, you'll either spray that color from the top of the model or use a brush and just work in thin layers and pull those colors towards the top shapes and thus add a colored highlight. Don't overdo this part, because if you do, it'll just look weird. Start very thin and work in layers. If you're doing a whole squad like I am here, it won't take as long as you think. Just keep jumping to each model, and by the time you finish the last one, the first one will be dry and you'll be able to layer on the next layer. Add on the next layer. Paint in, you know what I mean. At this point, you should have a much cooler looking metallic than if you just glopped on a bunch of Agrax or a bunch of Nuln Oil on it. For the rest of this model, I strongly recommend using the initial shadow color that you used and mixing it with all of your other washes or shadows that you plan on using to paint the rest of your model. This will serve to further unify the model and create a much more cohesive color scheme. Or you could just use that shadow like a wash, like I did. And now it's time to go in and paint the rest of the details. Because we've put so much effort into our metallics, we don't have to go crazy here if we don't want to. All we need to do is to get some color on those parts, so they don't look out of place. And because this model is full of mostly green tones, I decided to do one last punch color of bright red on their faces to make it look like there's a creepy glow coming from within their helmets. Now, what about that special surprise? Well, it's a free model, or at least a digital STL that you can print at home right now or get a friend to. The model comes from a Kickstarter I'll be running called the Chronicles of Soul. It's a new war game full of models that I've personally sculpted myself, and I'm really proud of it. Here are some of those models that are in the Kickstarter. If you're interested in the free model, click the link below in the description. It'll take you to the Kickstarter landing page where there you can go and download your free model. And that's it for this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and drop a like down below. It really helps the channel. And let me know your thoughts on this new way of doing metals on miniatures. Thanks for watching.